Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So let's recite the prayers all together. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Thank you. Jai. So welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Anybody who would feel more comfortable sitting in a chair at the table, please go ahead. They're for anyone to use. So today we'll be covering by Krishna's grace. I'm a little under the weather. You can maybe hear my voice, but I will try my best here. We'll be covering Canto 3, beginning chapter 15. This is a new chapter. It's called Description of the Kingdom of God. We're not going to get to that description yet. That's forthcoming. But this class we're going to hear about, we'll cover texts 1 to 10 and hear about the results of Diti's pregnancy. So who can give a little recap leading up to this? What's been happening in the last couple of sections?
The last verse.
Like yesterday's class and the day before.
Oh,
or whatever.
Kassapa Muni was sitting in meditation, and his wife Diti was very much eager to have children, but especially because her sister wives, is that what were having children?
Co-wives, yeah.
Sister wives. Were having a lot of children. But it wasn't the right time. It was in the evening. And so Kassapa Muni was saying, okay, let's do it later, but she was very eager, very, very eager. And so Kassapa Muni gave in to his wife to conceive children.
Okay, and then?
And then Kassapa Muni explained to her that her 2 sons would be demons. However, one of those demon children would have a pure devotee son. So her grandson would be a pure devotee. So this was actually made Diti very happy, because she not only understood that her 2 sons were going to be demons and killed by Krishna, but her grandson would be a pure devotee of the Lord.
Right, so after conceiving children at the wrong time, she was concerned, and she was also repentant. She went to her husband and she was like, I'm so sorry, Prabhu, I realized this was, I kind of like pushed you into doing something that you weren't prepared to do, and we did it, and now, I'm worried about the consequences. And he said yes. He was actually very heavy with her. Where's that verse? There's one verse where he's like really laying into her. He says, because your mind's being polluted, because of the defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. He's like, boom, like this was totally wrong. So therefore you will have 2 contemptuous sons who will cause constant lamentation to the 3 worlds. So then she's like, oh no, now I'm going to reap what I've sown here. But then she becomes very repentant, and she's asking, is there anything, that will be beneficial? Is there anything that we can do to make this like okay? And then he said, yeah, you needn't worry, because these 2 sons of yours will actually do good to the world, because they will bring about the appearance of the Lord in 2 different incarnations. Who are those incarnations? Lord Nrsingadev and Vrahadev. Yeah, so 2 Leela avatars of the Lord appeared because of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and blessed the world by their appearance. And he said that your sons will be killed by these 2 incarnations of the Lord. And when she heard that, she became so happy. She was like, yes, my sons are going to be killed by the Lord. That's a great thing. That means they'll get liberation. So they'll be horrendous demons, but they'll get liberation. So it just shows, like how conscious she was. She was thinking, okay, she wasn't worried about her own suffering. She wasn't worried. She's just like a devotee mother, I want my child to go back to Godhead. I want my child I don't want them to have to take birth. I want this to be their last birth in the material world. So as soon as she heard that this was going to be their last birth in the material world, she was like, well, actually they did take 2 more births, but that's okay, because they also got killed by the Lord in those births. But she was like, they're going to get liberation, then it's all good. And what to speak of that, even better, I'm going to have a grandson who's going to be a Mahabhagavat. So she ended up being happy. But at the same time, she was thinking, well, okay, all's well that ends well, but in the meantime, these 2 sons of mine are going to create a lot of disturbance. So now we're going to hear what she did to try to prevent that, starting from text 1. So someone please read.
Sri Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, Diti, in the wife of the sage Kashyapa, could understand that the sons within her womb would be a cause of disturbance to the demigods. As such, she continuously bore the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni, which was meant to give trouble to others, for 100 years.
Right, so she didn't want to cause any disturbance to anyone. And so the Sanskrit says here, Tat Teja Paratejahanam. So Teja means potency. And so it says Tat Teja is referring to her husband's potency, Kashyapa Muni's potency, or the potency of his semen, to produce these children. So Diti, seeing Tat Teja, seeing his potency, seeing the potency of that semen and what it was about to do, Para Tejohanam, that it was about to destroy the potency of others. Para means others, so others Teja, others potency, and precisely the demigod's potency, Hanam, it was going to kill. Ha means kill. So seeing that her husband's potency was going to end up destroying the potency of the demigods, in other words, crushing the demigods, Diti then used her own potency to delay the birth, to delay this tragedy from happening. So Prabhupada says in the purport that no sane person can tolerate non-devotees giving trouble to devotees. So Diti was very pious, she was understanding the situation, and so she used her own mystic powers, because she was also her husband was a mystic yogi and she was also a mystic yogini. So she had these powers to actually withhold the birth and keep those two in her womb for 100 years. So that's pretty amazing. We can see from this that Diti was no ordinary person. And also the embryos in her womb were no ordinary personalities. Now we're going to hear how just, without even taking birth, just their presence within her womb was going to affect the universe. So next verse.
By the force of the pregnancy of Diti, the light of the sun and moon was impaired in all the planets. And the demigods of various planets, being disturbed by the force, asked the creator of the universe, Brahma, what is this expansion of darkness in all directions?
So so the presence of, just in the embryonic form, those two demons was so dark that it just plunged the whole universe into darkness. So this also shows how our energies can affect others. If we're very Krishna conscious, then when a pure devotee walks into the room, everything brightens up, everything just becomes uplifted, right? When a great soul's visiting, it's like the whole energy comes up. And somebody, on the other hand, if somebody's very low consciousness, mode of ignorance, or angry, violent, like that, then their energy brings everything down. It creates disturbance. It creates like an atmosphere of darkness in which other people get affected by the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and it just becomes a mess. So, we should be conscious of our consciousness and be conscious of our consciousness, and also be aware that our consciousness doesn't only affect us, but it affects others. It affects the whole universe in the way that the demoniac consciousness of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu was causing darkness to spread all over the universe. So the demigods here, they're observing this darkness and they're bewildered. They don't know what the cause is. They have no idea what's going on, and they're in a lot of anxiety. So, being a a lot of people they want to go to heavenly planets. They want to be a demigod and have powers and have a lot of sense gratification. But actually, throughout the Bhagavatam, you'll see time and time again that the demigods are often in a lot of distress. They're often in a lot of anxiety. And this is one such scenario. So being a demigod, going to heavenly planets is not something to aspire for, because Krishna says, Abrahma bhuvana loka, that from the highest planet to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. So even demigods are not having a good time. They're also experiencing the miseries of material existence. But the defining characteristic of demigods is that they accept the authority of the Lord. They have the quality of a Vaishnava, the Krishna Ekasharanam. They take shelter of Krishna, or they take shelter of his representative, devotees of Krishna. So that's what they're doing here, that being disturbed by that force, they approach Lord Brahma and they ask him, what is going on here? What is this expansion of darkness in all directions? And we're going to see in the next verses when they talk to Brahma, that because they take Brahma to be like their guru, because he's the chief of all the demigods. Whenever the demigods are in trouble, whenever they're confused or in anxiety, they always go to Brahma. So sometimes we hear that like Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods, but he's more like the priest, like the yogic priest who does ceremonies on behalf of them. But when it comes to actual when they're in distress and they need help, they need solutions, they need comfort, they need instruction, it's Lord Brahma. They always go to Lord Brahma. So now, because Lord Brahma is like their guru, and because the spiritual master is a representative of God, they're going to glorify him as almost on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in one sense, it may seem a little excessive, but Srila Prabhupada says, well, there's a verse in Bhagavatam that says, the Lord says that one should know the Acharya to be myself, to be as good as myself. So it's appropriate, this glorification, especially given their condition that they're totally dependent on Brahma now to understand what's going on and what the solution is. So now let's read the next few verses and hear the demigod's praises of Lord Brahma.
The personate demigod said, "O great one, just see this darkness, which you know very well and which is causing us anxiety. Because the influence of time cannot touch you, there is nothing unmanifest before you."
O God of the demigods, sustainer of the universe, head jewel of all the demigods and other planets, you know the intentions of all living entities in both the spiritual and material worlds.
O original source of strength and scientific knowledge, all obeisances unto you. You have accepted the differentiated mode of passion from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With the help of external energy, you are born of the unmanifested source, all obeisances unto you.
O Lord, all these planets exist within yourself, and all the living entities are generated from you. Therefore, you are the cause of this universe, and anyone who meditates upon you without deviation attains devotional service.
There is no defeat in this material world for a person who control the mind and senses by controlling the breathing process, and who are therefore experienced mature mystics. This is because by such perfection in yoga, they have attained your mercy.
Let's pause here for a sec. So this is an interesting verse because it's talking about how one can never be defeated in the material world. So this is something that would be helpful to know, right? Because sometimes we feel like, we're struggling in this world, and sometimes we feel like we're being defeated by the material energy. So this is giving us a little clue as to, he's saying there is no defeat in the material world for persons who control the mind and senses by controlling the breathing process and who are experienced, mature mystics. So how does this work? How is it that by the breathing process and controlling the mind and senses that one becomes victorious? One can never be defeated. Just to do that? Just grab the mic. Thank you.
I was thinking, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one who is regulated in all his activities can conquer over the ocean of material existence, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so similarly, like if you can, well, first of all, Krishna says it, but then if you're able to control your mind, that's kind of the real source of all your miseries.
Mm.
And yeah, we were seeing that like lust in our Gita class yesterday. It's, if you can control the senses, you can control the mind, you can control the intelligence, then you're no longer basically afflicted by material nature, because that's where lust is.
Okay, good. Yeah, Nanda Braja? Oh, I thought you would say. Any other thoughts on this? Tulsi Zaki, would you like to say something? Or you're just next in line to read? Okay. Yeah, so the demigods say here in the second part, they say, this is because by such perfection in yoga they have obtained your mercy. So there's a connection here that by controlling the mind and senses, then we can, we can avoid a lot of material miseries because we're not dragged into situations which are going to give us bad karma and create miseries for us. But also when that's kind of like we're not doing the negative thing, but also when we control our mind and senses, that enables us to do the positive thing. So what is the proper use of the mind and senses is to serve the Lord or serve the devotees. And then by serving the devotees, we can please the devotees and get their mercy. He says that by such perfection, they have obtained your mercy. So they're talking to Lord Brahma, that when we serve the devotees, we obtain the mercy of the devotees, and by the mercy of the devotees, we get the mercy of Krishna. And the mercy of Krishna means protection, it means empowerment, and because of Krishna's empowerment and protection, then we'll never be defeated. Because when Krishna uses us as his instruments, then we're not going to be defeated. Like Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was undefeatable because he was acting as Krishna's instrument, and Krishna can never be defeated. Krishna's will can never be counteracted, and Krishna will always protect the devotee. So, yeah. Okay, let's go on to text 8.
All the living entities within the universe are conducted by the Vedic directions. As a bull is directed by the rope attached to its nose, no one can violate the rules laid down in the Vedic literatures. To the chief person who has contributed to the Vedas, we offer our respect.
So this is interesting, saying that everyone, life basically is going on according to the Vedas. Just like a bull is directed by the rope attached to its nose. So how is that? How are the Vedas controlling everybody? The Vedic injunctions. Nandaraja?
The Vedas deal mostly with the 3 modes of material nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so these 3 modes of material nature, if somebody's not taking shelter of Krishna, they give shelter to the person. So the 3 modes of material take action through karma, through our activities.
Through karma, yeah. So the Veda, did you want to say something, Priya?
The Vedas are containing eternal truths, and whether or not you know of them or whether or not you follow the teachings, they're true. So in that way, they are applying to everybody and controlling. The truth that they're speaking is controlling everybody. Does that make sense?
Okay, they're about they contain the absolute truth. So that absolute truth, the Lord is controlling everyone. So it's kind of, but in what way are the Vedas directly controlling everyone? Yes, Gokulananda Prabhu.
Prescribed duties come from the Vedas.
Okay.
And since Vedas are given by Krishna, there is a connection. And because of there is a purification and there is evolution, elevation of the consciousness.
Okay. So Vedas can help us elevate our consciousness. But how are they controlling people who don't do yagyas?
Through the 3 modes of material nature, right?
Specifically?
Karma, birth, death, old age, and disease.
Okay, all right. You're kind of getting there. So, yeah.
I was thinking, if I may, that either way you're controlled by the 3. In the Vedas, they are mostly about the 3 modes of material nature. But if we understand the essence of the Vedic is to serve Krishna, so either we're controlled by the 3 modes of material nature or we're controlled by Krishna. So either way we're controlled.
Yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned karma. My thought process was that the Vedas are like the law books. And so there are laws of karma. And just like in the state, there are laws. So, we're actually controlled by these laws. If somebody's thinking that, let's say somebody doesn't know the law, and they come and they just, they drive 100 miles an hour in a 30 mile per hour zone, they go through red lights, they go into a department store and just take whatever they want and walk out. It's like they're going to suffer. They're going to get slammed, with fines, with arrest, with going to jail. But somebody who knows the laws, then they follow the laws, then they get benefits from following the laws. Or like, let's say a student in school, they're the rules of the classroom. There are things that the teacher, they accept the authority of the teacher, they follow the rules of the classroom. They get rewards for that, they get privileges for that, they get the favor of the teacher, everything works out good. But then someone who either doesn't know the rules or doesn't care about the rules and breaks them, so the person's future is determined by their following the laws, basically. So there are these, the Vedas set forth laws, injunctions. If you do this, you get this. If you do that, you get that. So if we follow the Vedic injunctions, then we get good karma, and that karma determines what's going to happen in our lives, right? And if we neglect them, then we get sinful reactions, and that's going to give us another path. So like that, according to our following or not following Vedic injunctions, or which ones we follow and which ones we don't follow, that's going to create our experience. So in that sense, it's pulling us like a bull through, we're being pulled. Of course, it's up to our desire. We still have the free will whether to follow them or not follow, which ones to follow, how to follow them, how strictly to follow them. But ultimately, the consequences are set by the Vedas. And in that sense, they're pulling us through life. Yeah.
In this connection, one analogy comes to my mind. Like I heard from someone, like let's say a small child is flying a kite, and he is asking the father, why there is this string? You just cut the string and the kite will go farther and farther up in the sky. And the father just chuckles at him, cuts the string, lo behold, the kite has to come down. So the lesson being rules and regulations, as you mentioned in the scriptures, they appear to be binding the kite or restricting, the flying kite.
Yeah.
But actually it enhances the kite to go up in the sky.
Yeah, good, thank you. All right, let's go 2 more verses and then we'll come back to text 8. So text 9, please.
Text 9. The demigods prayed to Brahma, please look upon us mercifully, for we have fallen into a miserable condition because of the darkness. All our work has been suspended.
And so here we see another nice quality of the demigods, that it's not just that they're uncomfortable with the darkness or that they're afraid of the dark or afraid of the cause of the darkness, but they're saying, we can't do our service. Due to this darkness, we can't do our services. All of our work has been suspended. So it's about, wanting to actually perform their functions for the pleasure of the Lord, and there's an obstruction to that. Okay, last one, text 10.
As fuel overloads a fire, so the embryo created by the semen of Kasyapa in the womb of Diti has caused complete darkness throughout the universe.
So the word here in the Sanskrit, vardate, means increases. So just like he compares as fuel overloads or increases a fire. You put more fuel you put on the fire, the more the fire increases, it blazes up. So in the same way, they're noticing how the whole situation is escalating very fast, right? Like first, there's Diti's lust. So lust is also compared to fire, dushparena analena cha, that it's never satisfied and burns like fire. So that lust was a small problem, you could say. But then that led to this pregnancy. And now it's a bigger problem, and because the pregnancy is causing darkness in the universe, which is causing another problem, which is that the demigods can't do their services, which is going to cause another problem. Everything's going to become unregulated, and there's going to be, just chaos in the universe. And the Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu haven't even taken birth yet. So, and there's already all these problems. So he's seeing how it's just increasing and increasing, expanding. The darkness is expanding. Okay, let's go back to text 8. We'll do the Sanskrit for that. Yasya vacha praja sarva gavastantyeva yantritaha Haranti balim ayatas. Tasmai mukyayate namaha. Please chant.
Balim ayatas tasmai mukyayate namaha.
Right, let's do the synonyms all together. Yasya, of whom, Vacha, by the Vedic directions, Praja, living entities, Sarva, all, Gava, bulls, Tantya, by a rope, Eva, as, Yantrita, are directed, Haranti, offer, take away, Balim, presentation, ingredients for worship, Ayata, under control, Tasmai, unto him, Mukyaya, unto the chief person, Te, unto you, Namaha, respectful obeisances. So let me read this translation again. All the living entities within the universe are conducted by the Vedic directions, as a bull is directed by the rope attached to its nose. No one can violate the rules laid down in the Vedic literatures. To the chief person who has contributed the Vedas, we offer our respect. Yes, he's drawing out this point that Brahma is such an important personality that the Vedas are controlling everyone, and he's the one who's given the Vedas. So he's another praise of him. Someone please read the purport.
Purport. The Vedic literatures are the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot violate the injunctions given in the Vedic literatures any more than one can violate the state laws. Any living creature who wants real benefit in life must act according to the direction of the Vedic literature. The conditioned souls who have come to this material world for material sense gratification are regulated by the injunctions of the Vedic literature. Sense gratification is just like salt. One cannot take too much or too little, but one must take some salt in order to make one's foodstuff palatable. Those conditioned souls who have come to this material world should utilize their senses according to the direction of the Vedic literature. Otherwise, they will be put into a more miserable condition of life. No human being or demigod can enact laws like those of the Vedic literature, because the Vedic regulations are prescribed by the Supreme Lord.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, I want to focus on this point here that sense gratification is just like salt. It's very, it's easy to remember, and it's very clear, because salt is one of those things that you need some salt in your food, otherwise it's practically like you can't eat it. You know, have you ever had khichdi that the cook forgot to put the salt in? It's like, there's no salt. And so you can't just sit down peacefully and eat your khichdi. You know, you have to look around and see if everybody else is experiencing the same thing as you, and look for, is there a salt shaker anywhere, or get up and find some salt. You literally like can't eat it without salt, right? Or if there's absolutely no salt, like you might pick at it a little bit, but you probably, it's just going to be really hard to eat it. But then if there's too much salt, then it's the same thing. It's like, oh my God, this is impossible. You're trying to like add yogurt or mix it with something else that has a little less salt. And at the end of the day, like if it's really too excessive salt, then it's impossible to eat. So sense gratification is like that. That we need a little bit, but not too much. So somebody might think, that sense gratification is totally bad. We should just have no sense gratification. But what's the problem with that? Not sustainable. What happens if we don't have any sense gratification? You get grumpy. You get irritable. You get hard-hearted. You start like lashing out at other people. Yeah. So we need a little bit of sense gratification to just kind of like live, because after all, we have a body. And the body needs food. It needs some comforts, Otherwise, we just go nuts. Andabraja,
I was thinking, not only do you sometimes get grumpy, but sometimes you go the opposite way. You hold back, and then all of a sudden you just, like you just can't help but like just consume sense gratification, because it's like you blow up.
Yeah, I actually saw that when I was living in Mayapur, the boys' Gurukul there. The boys would be, living with no electricity, just sleeping on a hard floor with a straw mat, and, eating only, very Vedic food, and, not exposed to anything, just chanting a lot of mantras all day and doing hard work. And as soon as they would have a break and they would go to their homes, it's like it was almost like a running joke. They would just be like binge watching movies, eating pizza and, pasta and chocolate bars, and just like totally like getting as much sense gratification. And the kids that weren't in the Gurukul that were around their age, they would be like, dude, this is not what you do. This is not what we do anyway. It's just like, we don't watch movies at all, and there's something wrong here, So, if there's too much austerity or too much deprivation, then you totally go, it's like a pendulum swing, right? It goes from extreme abnegation and self-flagellation to extreme indulgence, and so we want to be in the middle, right? The middle path. What was I thinking? Can't take too much. So that's the problem with taking too little. And then if we take too much, how does that become a problem?
We can't advance.
Why not?
Because we're too engrossed in sense gratification.
And then?
We fall down.
We fall down. How does sense gratification make us fall down? Yes.
There's the verse in Gita that if you're too absorbed in sense gratification and material opulence, then samadho na vidiyate, you can't fix your mind. And so how can you be peaceful if you can't have a controlled mind?
Right, the determination, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So, we can't be fixed. Intelligence is many-branched, right? It's all over the place. Oh, I want this, I need this, I would like that, I prefer that. We're just chasing sense gratification in all different ways, shapes, and forms. And Krishna says that, what to speak of all the senses being on the loose, if even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses goes to sense gratification, it is dragged away. That drags away a person's intelligence. So, and he says that contemplating the objects of the senses, lust develops, attachment, frustration, anger, bewilderment of memory, and intelligence is lost, and one falls down into the material pool. So too much sense gratification leads to us falling down, it leads to bondage, it leads to lack of determination in Krishna consciousness. So we can't overdo it, and we can't underdo it. We have to just get it right. And that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, there's no possibility of becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much, eats too little, sleeps too much, or doesn't sleep enough. So then what's the solution? That's in the next verse. That yuktahara viharasya, yukta chaitasya karmasu, yukta swapna vabodasya, yoga bhavati dukkha. So yukta. Yukta means, Prabhupada translates it in that context, he translates yukta as regulated. In other contexts, Srila Prabhupada translates yukta as connection, like yoga, because yoga and yukta come from the same Sanskrit root. So it means to link, or sometimes Srila Prabhupada translates yukta in the same way that he translates yoga as devotional service. So the solution is to regulate our sense gratification, specifically by engaging our senses in devotional service. So he's talking about eating and sleeping and recreation and work. So our eating should be yukta. It should be regulated by connecting it to Krishna. So we need to eat for Krishna by taking Krishna prasadam. We need to sleep for Krishna by connect our sleep to Krishna by sleeping just enough, not too much, not too little, but just getting the right amount so that we're not influenced by the mode of ignorance, but at the same time we're not, going crazy due to sleep deprivation. But we're getting the right amount of sleep to maintain this vehicle, to maintain the machine for the service of Krishna. And then work for Krishna. Krishna says work done as an offering for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise your work causes bondage to the material world. So do everything as an offering to Krishna. Yat karosi yat ashnasi. And recreation. Yeah, recreation is also one of the necessities of life. That, we need to be able to relax and do things that we enjoy, like hobbies, or going out, going for a nature walk, or swimming, or something like that, playing chess, some Vaishnava sports. So, and those are also good, because when we do those things with devotees, then we can do them in a Krishna conscious way. And they also help us to establish nice bonds, with devotees, like loving relationships with devotees through doing things that we enjoy together, and not just working together or serving together, but going out and kind of having fun together is very healthy. So, eating, sleeping, working, and having recreation in connection with Krishna in a balanced way is having the right amount of salt. And then everything becomes palatable. Then Krishna conscious life becomes very palatable, or Srila Prabhupada used the word relishable. Becomes tasty. We get the higher taste. And then we can't give it up. If the food has too much salt, you want to give it up. If it doesn't have enough salt, you want to give it up. When it has the right amount of salt, you want seconds and thirds. You want more because it's good, right? So when our sense gratification in Krishna consciousness is balanced, is regulated, and is connected to Krishna, those three things, then we'll get the higher taste. We won't want to give it up. We'll want to keep going. We'll want more. We want more devotional service. We want more Krishna conscious life, more intensity in our Krishna consciousness, more association with devotees who are similarly balanced like that. And we'll also know how to help others to regulate their lives and balance their sense gratification and engage everything in Krishna's service in the spirit of yukta vairagya. Actually, it's interesting. This verse is all about yukta, right? Yukta hara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapna. So everything yukta, that's yukta vairagya. It means that we're not giving things up, we're not rejecting, but we're using everything. We're not rejecting, we're connecting. Connecting everything in Krishna's service, for Krishna's pleasure. And when Krishna is pleased, then we'll be pleased. And then then you won't even feel the need for sense gratification. Because we'll just be so happy in Krishna consciousness that, this desire for material enjoyment won't be there. It'll just fade away. It'll diminish. Okay, so any questions on this topic? Yes, Priya.
There are sometimes strong statements Srila Prabhupada will make. Like, he'll sometimes say that a man who lives his life for sense gratification goes to hell. And it seems like, okay, you might read that statement and say, well, you live a good life and you have a nice home and you try to be a good person, then you go to hell? What's up with that? So, how can you understand that statement?
I mean, yeah, if that's all you're living for, is just to satisfy your senses, and you don't inquire into, higher matters. You don't, try to explore the nature of your existence, and who am I, and why am I suffering, and all these things. Then, yeah, you're not going to be elevated in the next life. So, the human form of life is meant to understand God. That's why we have this gift of intelligence. And so if we don't utilize our intelligence for the proper purpose, then it will be taken away. Just like, I often use this example that if the parent gives a child some money to go down to the store and buy, milk or, some fruit or something like that, and the kid just, spends it on candy and, junk, and then just comes back home, and the mother's like, where are the fruits, where are the milk, the things that I asked you to buy? And he's like, oh, well, I bought this instead. It's like, okay, I understand I can't trust you with money, so the next time she's not going to give that one, she won't give him money to go to the store again because he misused it. So in the same way, we've been given intelligence, which is actually a dangerous item. It can be used or misused, and when we misuse intelligence, it's very dangerous for us. So it's just like, money can be misused, or like a knife. A knife can be used by a surgeon to save someone's life, but it can be used by a thug to kill somebody. So you don't give a knife to an irresponsible person. They can hurt others, or they can hurt themselves with it. So in the same way, intelligence is like that. We can either use it for our elevation, to actually understand spiritual subject matters, or we can use our intelligence to basically destroy ourselves and hurt others, which is what most people use their intelligence for. So then Krishna's like, all right, I gave this intelligence to understand me. You totally misused it to, just make all kinds of arrangements for a sinful life. So next life, you're not getting intelligence. You can become an animal. Because animals, they don't commit sin. Because they don't have intelligence to misuse. They don't have the intelligence to override the laws of nature. That's the power of intelligence, that through intelligence we can actually override, instinct. And do something that's really crazy, that's really bad for us. Like animals, they don't eat the wrong food. Animals don't have sex with other species or at the wrong time, or for purposes other than conceiving offspring. But humans use their God-given intelligence to do all those things, to eat food that's bad for them, to have illicit sex, and do all these things that cause them to go to hell. So yeah.
You practice yukta vairagya, or you get Viagra?
Or you get... That's an old saying. That's probably a new saying. Viagra hasn't been around that long. Yeah. Gokulananda Prabhu. Is that okay, Brihat? So when Prabhupada says sense gratification leads you to hell, it's like, hell means you don't get a human form of life next time around. Either you become an animal or you go to hellish planets and suffer. But either way, animal life is also a hellish existence for the soul, because you're so constrained. There's no freedom and no ability to understand God, which is the way to be happy, the real way to be happy. Oh, sorry, I thought he was... Go ahead, I can repeat.
I realized that my conditioned understanding of the word hell is an eternal place of suffering.
Uh-huh.
And so Prabhupada's not using it like that.
No.
So that's part of my issue.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, hell means basically hellish life. There's not a hell. There are several different, there's like 28 different hellish planets, so there are options even if you are going to actual hell. But then hellish life just means, basically any life in which there's no opportunity to connect with Krishna is hell. There's a verse that says that even liberation, impersonal liberation is hell, because there's no scope for serving the Lord. So hell means that situation where you can't serve Krishna. So it can be hellish planets where there's no opportunity, can be emerging in the Brahmajyoti, it can be animal life, that's hell. So we have to redefine hell. That's the definition of hell.
Time for one question, one more question.
I ask the question. I just remembered what Prabhupada says, famous statement, right? If one sleeps too much, becomes lazy, and if one doesn't sleep at all, he goes crazy.
Yeah.
So the question is about, you mentioned, how human beings.
Put the mic a little more close.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
So the human beings, they are called karma yoni, and animals are bhoga yoni. So whenever we advocate or substantiate the karma theory, we say, whenever we're talking to someone who is following a different faith, and we say, then why is, somebody's born in a rich family, somebody's born poor, somebody's born handicapped. So just to advocate or substantiate the karma philosophy. But I was just thinking, even among animals, sometimes we see animals are born sometimes blind and physically handicapped. How do we look at it?
Yeah, because every soul is an individual. And so even in the animal species, there's degrees of suffering, right? It's not that all human beings have the same experience, right? Some human beings have a relatively easy, opulent life, comfortable life. Other human beings suffer like anything, right? They don't barely have food to eat, or they're, in abusive situations or something. Yeah, so animals too, you could be a dog who, lives in a comfortable apartment building, and, your master takes you to a nice park every day, and you can run free and eat like dog food out of a can or whatever. Or you can be like a dog in India and be half starved and diseased and being beaten and getting stones thrown at you and on a daily basis, and just having to sleep on the cold outside on the road. Yeah, so there are variations. Even within species, there are variations of experience, and that depends on the karma from the previous life.
I think we cannot say that there is no karma among the animals also, because a dog may choose to enter the fire.
Well, there's no karma in the sense that animals don't accrue karma. So the soul in an animal body doesn't get good or bad karma. They're just burning off whatever karma they've accumulated from the last time they were in the human life. It's only in the human life that you get karma, that you create karma for yourself. In the heavenly planets, they don't create karma. They're just burning off the good karma that they accumulated in their human birth, last human birth. And the animal species, they're burning off the bad karma that they accumulated. Of course, there's always a mixture of good and bad, but whatever it is that you have, you're in any species other than human species, you're just burning it off. And then when it's done, when you're heavenly planets, when the good karma is done, back to earth, back to human birth on earth. Animals, when the bad karma is burned off, back to human birth on earth. And then, okay, now what are you going to do? What choices are you going to make this time?
Some dogs are born in America in a nice family, and they are taken so good.
Yeah.
And in India, as you said, they are street dogs and they're suffering.
Yeah.
So how do you understand that?
Yeah, because it's from the last time that they were a human, they made choices that led them to become a dog with a comfortable life or a dog with a hellish life. The animals are definitely subject to to the karma from their past human life. The only difference between animals and humans is that they don't get new karma. They're not creating karma. So if a dog attacks a person, they don't get karma for that. If a person attacks a dog, they get karma for that. Exactly. They're experiencing the past karma. So everybody's, like it says here, we're all being pulled by, like bulls by a rope attached to our noses because of karma, due to the Veda. The karma is, if we follow Vedas, the Vedic injunctions, we get good karma. If we don't follow them, we get bad karma. And then that's due to that we're pulled into different species through different experiences, like that. Okay? So the Vedas are there to teach us how to get the sense gratification that you need in an authorized way, so that you don't get bad karma, so that you don't end up getting pulled by that rope through your nose to a lower species, to a hellish life, but that you can actually be pulled towards Krishna. So the onus is upon us in the human form of life to know the laws, to study the law books, and that's why we have Bhagavatam class every day, because Prabhupada's books are in the Vedic tradition, and these are the law books for the next 10,000 years. So we need to study these, we need to know what to do, what not to do, and act accordingly, and then we can get pulled by the mercy of the devotees back to the lotus feet of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Premanandi.